Hi everybody, my name is Alvaro, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create a web development environment using Visual Studio Code and dev containers. For this example, we are going to use Laravel, which is a PHP framework. As you can see here, there are many ways in which we can install Laravel, but we are going to choose Sail because Sail is a solution they offer for working with containers. Also, Sail supports dev containers out of the box. So let's get started by copying this command. And let's run it on the console. And while the command is running, let's see what is going on here. So the idea of working with containers and with Sail is that if you have a PHP application that, let's say, requires a MySQL service, a Redis service, and also having a full-blown PHP installation, you don't want to be messing with that every time you start a new project. So Sail takes care of creating the containers for you. So that is one piece of the puzzle, having the containers there, which I think is a great help what Sail is doing. But then also you need to have an editor. And when you start working in a team with colleagues and you want them to get up to speed, what's better than offering them, hey, let's run this command. And when you start Visual Studio Code, VS Code will take care of running everything for you. They don't need to know about containers. Your colleagues don't need to know about Docker Compose and all those things. Visual Studio Code will find those files and run them for you. So let's wait until this is all installed. There we finish having our libraries downloaded. So let's cd into this example app. So what do we have here? First, let's list the files. We can see we have a PHP project there, and I can do less Docker Compose. This is the Docker Compose that was created by Sail. So we see that we have a PHP server there. We also have a MySQL server and Redis, and also all the network and volume being set up for us. Also, if I do here, if I go to dev container, we also have a dev container installed for us. So this is ready to go into VS Code. So I can do code and open this folder. And Visual Studio Code will start scanning the project. And it detects that this project has a dev container configuration file. So I can open that inside a container. Why we want to do this? Because we want to develop inside the container that has the PHP installation. And let's look at the logs. And VS Code will boot this container and also the MySQL container and the Redis one, and will create all the environment so we can work right away inside our web application. Again, we don't need to basically do anything. Just wait for VS Code to run all these commands to create the containers, because thanks to this dev container file that we had here, that is all the information that VS Code needs for start working with these containers. So VS Code has finished setting up the environment. Let's go to localhost, and we see that Laravel is running there. And what happens here? Not only PHP is running, and we can get this in the browser, VS Code via the dev container took care of doing the port forwarding. So the ports that are inside a container in localhost for the container also work from my computer here. So that's one cool thing that was done for us. But let's say we don't trust what is going on and we want to be sure that this is PHP running there. So let's look at this Laravel application. We have the routes, and we have the web route that is showing the welcome template. This one we see here. So this actually works because it's showing from the resources views, it's showing this welcome view. But let's change it to see if it's actually what is being displayed on the browser. So let's remove all this code from the body, and I will just type welcome from dev container. So let's have this there. If I refresh this page, Now we see the code that we just edited. So here we have a full-blown PHP development environment where we can edit the files and see their changes all directly from inside the container, because VS Code knows how to connect remotely into this container. Now we need to test if MySQL and Redis are actually also running there. Let's start with Redis. So let's take this comment out and let's bring Redis into the game. So first, we add the class for working with Redis, and let's do this. Every time the user goes to this page, we want to have a counter and increment that counter. We are going to store this counter inside Redis as an increment. So let's call Redis increment, and we will have a key called view count, and let's increment that by 1. Then to the template, we need to pass some variables so we can display this information. So view count will be Redis get view count. Then we go to the template and we are going to add this variable into the template. So here I add a paragraph, and in this paragraph I will display that variable called view count. So if I refresh here, we see that view count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. So we can see that Redis is also working. So that is pretty cool. I need to close this tag here, otherwise everything becomes a title. See? Yeah, this bug is also fixed. And let's go now to check for MySQL. To use MySQL, we need to bring the database class, which is the abstraction that Laravel uses for working with databases. And in this case, we are going to have because we don't want to populate MySQL for this example, we want a quick way to see if MySQL is running. And one of the quickest ways is to ask the server for the version. So let's create a database status variable for the template. And this will be database select, and the query we do is select version as version. So we ask the SQL server for the server version. And let's display this on the template. And we have that the MySQL version will be the database status we get from the database, the first result in the first value from the result, and the version key. Let's go to the browser, and if I refresh, we can see now that we are displaying the server version that we received from the database. So in this quick example, we could see that by running a command on the command line, we could get all this development environment set up. We boot up VS Code. VS Code detected that there was a dev container here and created all this environment for us. Then we went to the browser. We saw that PHP was running, and we were seeing the welcome page from Laravel. We went to the routes, change the routes, and change the template to actually make sure that we were being greeted by the PHP page and it was not some static HTML that I was displaying in the browser. And then we did a query to increment a count on Redis and display this count on the template, and also to get the database status out of MySQL and then to show that in the template. So what is so cool about this? Again, this is about standardizing development environment. This is about making it easier for our colleagues to get up and running. And when we mix the power of containers and the power of Visual Studio Code via a dev container, this simple file here, this file can really boost up the productivity of our teams and can standardize the way we work in teams. So I hope you like this demo about dev containers and expect more in the future. Thanks.